It's a tap, DJ, CT, the goats. Well, not those goats, but the real goats. Let's talk about it. We've got the big one, DJ. But how you doing?
I'm good, my man. How are you?
One. And look forward to previewing UFC 309. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I know you've been looking forward to this. This is your most hyped up card of the year. You always look forward to the MSG one. So do I, man. So do I. But like, I just always like the Abu Dhabi ones, which is the one. So happens to be the month before this. Um, Great card. You don't even have to talk about the card when you look at the headline, and that says it all. There's only one fight that we've all been looking forward to, really. To be honest, which is that main event. Look, since the first announcement and the postponement of the fight, perhaps the lucrativeness of that fight's gone down a tiny bit. Maybe, perhaps, because of what's been happening with the interim title and all that. But nonetheless, now that we're in fight week, where we're on the cusp of witnessing this fight, you cannot deny that there is that sense of greatness surrounding it. Especially when you look at some of the stats. If you look at you saw the press conference, we got the first face-off between the two legends. Man, it was absolute. I had goosebumps, to be honest, when I was watching that. So I'm so keen to see John Jones back. We know that his number of fights are limited, and highly, highly likely that it could be his last fight. So yeah, man, just every time we think about John Jones, it's just greatness. That's what it is. So yeah, I'm pretty much excited for the main event, the co-main. It's fireworks as well. It's a part two of a fight that we've already seen, which was also, for however long it lasted, a pretty exciting fight. There's Bo Nickel on the card, and he's an exciting prospect too. I wouldn't even say a prospect. He's like he's sort of a main name now in that division. Because of his popularity in the wrestling scene prior to stepping into the UFC, and sort of how he got into the UFC, and his fights so far, and he's definitely going up in competition. You cannot deny that. So yeah, man. And then there's some exciting fights in that card. So MSG, here we go. What's the fight that you're most looking forward to, CD?
I mean, no doubt it's the prelim opener. Um, it's Look, Tom Aspinall, John Jones, to be honest, and we'll talk
Yeah,
about that. But
yeah,
no, look, Stipe is my guy, and having the chance
yeah,
to meet him, years back. It's been so many years since he last
yeah,
fought. I think his
yeah.
son wasn't even born yet that he
We
that
should
he
have had that
revealed.
graphics. We should have had the graphics with you and the heavyweight goat. There was actually the heavyweight goat and Stipe
Yeah,
in that photo, sharing a bottle of Modelo, wasn't it?
it was. Yep, it was
Yeah,
a
yeah,
promo for Modelo
yeah.
back in Vegas for
Back in Vegas.
the Conor Cerrone pay per
Yes,
view.
yes,
But
I remember
hey,
that.
things have changed. He's got a son. He's full time fireman. He was going to do this dance 12 months ago, but of course, you know, John Jones hurt himself. But here we are.
Oh,
You mentioned just before coming on, you feel like Stipe's in the best shape
yeah,
that you've seen in
yes.
a while. Like,
100%, 100%. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I saw the press conference. I've been following the media days quite closely, and I feel like he's looking a lot more healthier. He looks more, bulkier. He looks more muscular. He looks ready, man. Like, I mean, and yeah, look, uh, that's what you want, in a fight like this. As much as we were disappointed that John Jones had to withdraw from that last year's MSG card, you also don't want these legends going in compromise, man. Like, because there's already look, in heavyweight, you can fight till you're a little bit older. Yeah, that's fine. That's a given. But having said that, you do want them in their best shape possible, because that's when you get the best fight, right? This is not like the stakes are high on this purely based on the fact that what they're putting on the line is not just the belt, but their legacy. Because these are not just two fighters who have got to the number one spot and holding a championship belt, just trying to fight it out. It's more two legends of the game, who are trying to find out who's the best. So you do want them in their best shape possible. So let's see. We just got to find it. Like Max Holloway says, we find out Sunday. So
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah,
yeah.
I'll ask you the same question. What are you most looking forward to? And then we'll dive into our predictions and
I
thoughts on this
mean,
big one.
man, this one's just a no-brainer. It's the main event. That's what it is, right? To be honest, like I would have bought the pay-per-view even if this card was just John Jones and just John Jones in there. Like, for anyone who follows combat sports, who's followed combat sports for the longest of times, would know that this is the real GOAT, the greatest of all time, for what he's achieved, and to be able to achieve that across multiple generations of fighters. And we consistently talk about how fighters are evolving. We're getting, the fighter of today is very different to the fighter of, 10 years ago. And we see that. We see the changing of guard happening on a regular basis as well. We see those new age fighters coming in and then them being a little bit more advanced. It could be based on their training methods, their the recovery, and what they have at their disposal to be able to compete at this level. We've seen that, like examples are, the Ilya Topurias, Islam Makhachev, Dricus Duplessis. You know what I mean? So you see that Alex Pereira, um, so in in a in a situation like that, to be able to sustain your ability to win, not just compete, but win and retain championships. I mean, John Jones, since he's been 23, he's only fought in championships fights, other than that Owen St. Preux fight, which was his comeback fight before the DC fight. So, and he's every title fight he's fought, he's won. Technically, every fight he's fought, he's won. We're not gonna regard that 12-6 elbow loss because it's a fluke. It just shouldn't be a loss. And that Dana addressed it today at the press conference too. But it is what it is. He said you can't change it. They've tried, and that's not going to change. Regardless, we all know that. John Jones is undefeated. He's an undefeated fighter. He's 28-0. So yeah, man. And to be honest, in that 28-0, most of those fights were in the UFC. We see, even Habib, like most or equal part of his fights in that 29-0 were outside of the UFC. Whereas with John Jones, majority of the fights contributing towards that record was within the UFC, and where we know only the best to the best fight. And look at his name, look at the names he's fought, the resume he holds, and no doubt, man, easily the greatest fighter of all time. Um, you know, last time when we spoke about. Last time when Alex Pereira fought, we said, look, he obviously deserves to be, Alex Pereira deserves to be number one pound for pound, purely because of the inactivity of John Jones. And Alex Pereira has been active and has been winning fights in great fashion, which is 100% true. And if John Jones goes in and does what he does, man, he is the number one pound for pound fighter, regardless of how many fights he's had in how many years, because you've got to look at the longevity and the resume of the fighter as well. And you have to agree with Dana to the point of where he goes on about how he is the number, because he is. As much as Dana White gets a lot of slack, if you do put him in a room, he walks out. Do you know what I mean? That's the truth, I guess. Like, no one's been able to beat him, not yet. And he's one of those big names. When Stephen A is involved in promos for a fight, it's the big names. We see him come out for fights when it's either Conor McGregor or now John Bones Jones. So yeah, that is what it is. So yeah, pretty. And look, we gotta look at Stipe as well, man. I know you're a big fan of Stipe, and you got to see what Stipe's achieved too. Defended that heavyweight title the most amount of times. You had that very competitive trilogy with DC. The common denominator between these two fighters is Daniel Cormier, because they both fought Daniel Cormier and they both beat him. And it's not easy to, because we know how good Daniel Cormier is. One of the one of the 9 double champs, and we know how dominant he was when he was competing. No one was able to come close to him. Again, a similar fighter with that sort of generation, being able to fight fighters from multiple generations. But the only difference being, obviously, like, he did lose to the both of these guys, which makes this fight even more exciting because everyone knows how good DC is. So if someone's able to beat DC, then yeah, look at this. Um, the thing that concerns me a little bit with Stipe is that his level of activity. And CD, I'll let you talk about the ring rust and sort of his inactivity as well. But he hasn't fought since he lost to Francis, which is about 4 years ago, and and that was a loss, and it was a pretty bad loss as well. Like, so how Stipe did say he didn't have enough time to prepare for that fight. He was kind of forced into that title defense. Uh, but anyway, we'll have to see whether that was the half cooked Stipe who came in, or like, based on how he performs this Sunday, or was Francis Ngannou good, and he did put him away. So yeah, man, like, what do you think of his inactivity? What do you think of Stipe not having fought for such a long time?
Yeah, it's definitely a huge factor, DJ, in this because it's been like that long. I mean, when you said 4 years, I kind of like had to look at the dates because like it sounds even longer than it feels because when you just hear it like that. But also, you could say that Jones hasn't fought in quite a while as well. So I feel like no excuses for either party in this one. It's like the best will prevail. But like you said, there's sort of an asterisk anyway at the top of the show. You said the fact that it's we've had to wait this long. The matchups lost a bit of its shine. If they had fought last year or even earlier, it would have been excellent. It would be like, okay, they're kind of at least in the back end of their prime. But it's like now well and truly both past their prime. But
Yeah.
obviously for the debate, for the legacy, for the fans and all of that, this is still a fight that a lot of people want to see. But yeah, in terms of the ring cage rust for Stipe, you just don't know what we're going to get. Like you said, 4 years, a loss to Francis, the baddest man on the planet at the time at heavyweight, and obviously his MMA career has gone in a different direction. But Stipe, he could benefit from a solid layoff. In terms of when you're
Mm,
over 40, you do
yeah.
benefit from letting your body heal up. There's
Hmm.
benefits to not sparring as often and training, and then you hit it hard for a specific fight. So it could work in his favor, or it could be completely disastrous.
Yeah.
I don't think it's anywhere in between. I think, like you said, we'll see like a really well-oiled Stipe, or we'll see a Stipe where it's like, whoa, you know, you know, I don't remember this guy.
Yeah. You're,
Excuse me.
that's right. Choke up thinking about Steve facing activity. But man, I agree. But look. To be fair on CP, I just looked at the record. So he did fight March of 2021. What that means is not 4 years. Like, let's be fair, like three and a half. Right. And you're right. Like, but John Jones has been a little bit more active. His level of he's had more time between. The one was the jump to heavyweight, so it took some time to do that, and then obviously it was out of his control when he got injured, so he had to postpone that fight. But with John Jones, I would think I don't know if he's out of his prime. I do think he's sustained his prime. I feel. Do you know what I mean? He's been smart with his training. And the one thing I think I really admire about John, there's a lot of things that you respect and admire about John Jones, but also his approach to his training. I think he looks at it in this fight business. I think everyone sort of disregards the recovery aspect of it, and they don't really pay too much heed to looking after your body, and they don't approach it like an athlete, which is I think is what John Jones has done. Is that he's approached it as like he's a prime time athlete to look after his body. He puts himself first. He's got a good team around him. He involves the science. He's adapted with the times, and I think that's sort of contributed to his longevity. So yeah, look. Either way, man, I'm excited for the fight. I think there's going to be. I would like to think there's going to be a lot of wrestling involved in this fight. I'm going to assume. I think Stipe is good on the mat as well. John Jones is extremely good, and we know that. We know what he did to Silgan. We know he was able to take down DC, and not many people are able to do that, man. So yeah, look. So I'm predicting this fight to be predominantly on the mat, on the canvas. There's gonna be a lot of grappling, a lot of wrestling, and they're gonna mix it up because there's gonna be both of these guys are known for their fight IQ. They're gonna mix it up, They're going to mix it up. I think there's going to be a lot of offensive wrestling from John Jones. If you look at the team he's assembled and the additions he's done to his team for this camp, we've got Gordon Ryan and Gable Stevenson. And Gordon Ryan, he's no stranger to the combat scene. A jiu-jitsu master, and then we've got Gable Stevenson, who's a decorated American wrestler. So he's added them both to his camp, which is a strong indication there's going to be a lot of wrestling involved. But Stipe is no slouch in that area. So as long as he can hold his own and defend those takedowns, and don't be surprised if he tries some of his own takedowns. And Stipe is big, and if you look at that face-off, man, they're equally matched. No one's outsized, so that's a good thing to note. And it does seem like
Yeah,
both
good
of these
point.
guys, yeah, and both of these guys are healthy. So yeah, I'm expecting a good fight. But look, we got to do this. So I'm gonna go with I want to check what your prediction is for this fight. Being a massive Stipe fan,
Yeah, man, nice. Good time, good reminder that I feel like the records speak for themselves with these guys. When you look at these why they're in the GOAT conversations. Stipe for heavyweight and Jones for all time. It's so unpredictable for me. And before I give my prediction, I do say, Errol Helwani, I don't know if you saw DJ, has said it was a 50-50 fight for him. Now,
fair call. Yeah, fair call.
yeah, and then he said it again when he was interviewing Stipe. So I don't know 50-50, but I see what he's trying to say. Like he gives Stipe a really good chance
Yeah,
to, to win it. But yeah, I'm going to lean towards John Jones. I think probably a 70-30. I
yeah,
give my man Stipe a chance, definitely a 30% chance.
yeah,
He's not a huge underdog, but he's an underdog for me. I think Jones is a bit more active recently, but also I just feel like yeah, the such of the layoff that Stipe has been. I think it's just going to be tough to just turn it on against the goat, and just be
yeah.
ready and well oiled. I think one mistake and you're out of
Mm.
there, such as how good John Jones is. So yeah, I'm going to go 70-30 John Jones. But I think it really has a chance to go five.
Yep.
I think if you said like great point you made about wrestling, I think Stipe will hold his own there, and I don't know if John Jones is going to finish Stipe, so I could see
Mm.
it going five. How do you see it, DJ?
Man, I'm gonna go with John Jones finish. I think he's gonna finish him. I feel like in the third round, perhaps. I think John Jones is gonna be too smart, too slick. I think he called out for this fight and he's been wanting this fight, so he's had enough time to prepare, and we know that he prepares really well. I'm with you on this. I am predicting a John Jones win, and I just feel like it's going to be a finish, though. I feel like it's going to be a finish. I could be wrong, but I'm predicting a finish. Stipe has been finished. Obviously, the last one was a finish, but is John Jones a puncher like Francis Ngannou? I don't know if he possesses that much power, but we don't know. Like we never got to see John Jones's power at heavyweight. That's another thing you gotta remember as well, because the Cyril Gane fight was so quick. It was such a quick fight where you took him down and finished him there. So, but yeah, look, I don't know. My gut tells me it's a John Jones finish, but I I'm also with you in giving Stipe a chance as well. Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time, and you gotta remember that. You gotta remember that he got there, for a reason, and he does have wins over pretty much every heavyweight that's fought in the UFC. So you gotta remember that. Uh, so yeah, look, but there is a big topic that surrounds this fight that does not involve either of these guys, right? And that's when steps in the interim champion, which is Tom Aspinall. Let me ask you this question first, CD. Do you want to see the winner of this fight unify the belt with Tom Aspinall? You excited for a fight for either of them with Tom Aspinall? Whoever wins, obviously, the winner of this fight. You excited? Would you watch a fight between the interim champ and then the newly crowned champ?
Yeah, definitely. If like let's say I'll give you two scenarios. let's say John Jones, wins, he either, well, ideally finishes it emphatically and gets a emphatic win, then it's like, yeah, absolutely. You want to see Jones, you know, Aspinall and go head to head. If Stipe were to win, which obviously is less likely based on our predictions and many others, um, I feel like it's a good time for Stipe to leave on that note, man. You just defeated John Jones, like
Hmm.
call it a
Yeah,
wrap, you know,
that.
you know.
Yeah, yeah,
You don't want a slippery slope and come back again and lose to Aspinall. And then it opens up, or you just defeated John Jones. I feel like
yeah,
that's it. And I feel like it was really coy in that interview with Ariel Hawani about, Ariel really pressed him to say, is this your last fight and all of that. So yeah. So what do you think? I feel like we will see Jones Aspinall. I feel like Jones is just married to the sport. You just can't get away from it. You know.
yeah, man. Like interesting because I was you brought up an interesting scenario which I never thought of until you just brought it up, which is if Stipe wins, should he just leave? But if Stipe wins, there is this big. There's another big factor surrounding it, right? Is that John Jones, who has never been defeated, loses, does he then warrant a rematch? This question was asked in the press conference, and Dana didn't really answer. But obviously, Stipe said, "Yeah, look, I'll entertain the fact." But that's something that's also plagued the heavyweight division is the rematches. Right? We've had that trilogy with DC that went for such a long time, which sort of clogged up the up and comers to the point where some of them came up and then just sort of disappeared because of the length of time. Like the Rosen strikes were quite hot at one point, and then they go on. Blades was on the cusp of a title fight. Now we got Tom Aspinall. Like, yeah, I know you also the interim title, but the whole point of the interim title is to unify the title. So I think even if there's a rematch somewhere, I feel like it should be after the unification. But I'm also with you. If Stipe were to win and if he were to leave on that note, that'll be the best ending for him. He's beaten arguably the best to ever do it. Which then automatically sort of transfers that title or the crown to him, and he just walks away. And then Jones can fight Aspinall for the heavyweight championship if that makes sense. But I do feel if John Jones were to win, man, I'm so keen to watch that fight with Tom Aspinall because he is one of those fighters we just spoke about, the new age fighters. And John Jones has constantly said, "I'm excited about competition. I'm excited about someone who can challenge me." So like I'm leaving the light heavyweight division because it's become mundane. Um, and Tom Aspinall is that guy, man. Like, I mean, John Jones has nothing to prove. Let's get that clear. If he were to walk away today, even without the Stipe fight, touch wood, the fight happens, but even without the Stipe fight, if he were to walk out today, he's still the GOAT. There is no doubt in that. So there is nothing left for this man to prove. But, you know, if he's able to get Tom Aspinall's name on his record, and to beat him, that just cements everything, man. Like for many many centuries to come. Like there's nothing more you can because I do agree with John Jones when he says like, man, when will it stop? Because there will always be this new guy, right? Yesterday was Cyril Gahn. Today, you guys are saying Tom Aspinall. So every time there's going to be this new age heavyweight who's going to go, a fighter who's going to beat John Jones, and it's been the case for the last however many years he's fought since 23. Man, he's 37 now. Like not since 23, he's been fighting before he's 23, became the champion at 23. But so, yeah, you're right. Like, what if someone more exciting comes after Tom Aspinall if he beats him? They're going to be like, okay, well, now he's got to beat this guy. So it will keep going. But at the end of the day, he is the GOAT. There's no doubt about it. But it will be a great because we are at this point and
Yeah.
we can watch the fight. You know what I mean? It can happen. So if he can do that, that will be amazing. But either way,
Yeah. The way I look at it too in the fight game, DJ, I look at eras,
yeah,
and you could say the reason why Stipe can walk away, defeat Jones, they come up on the same era. And
mm,
let's say Stipe wins once again, he's the heavyweight GOAT, undisputed, right? And there's no need to fight a Tom Aspinall. Aspinall, as far as I'm concerned, there's a line between their eras.
yeah,
Stipe fought the Ngannous, the DCs, like and all of those guys, the
mm,
Fabrizios, and all of that.
yeah,
Aspinall's so new; he's just come up, and I don't think their eras meet because Stipe's 41 now. You could literally say it's a young up and coming fighter
yeah,
fighting a
yeah,
guy who should be in retirement
yeah,
technically, and that could cloud his legacy.
yeah.
But Jones,
And
he's 37, like you said, so there's kind of that argument that he's new to the heavyweight division. He's got a little bit more to prove.
Yep.
So I kind of look at it like that. But yeah, tough going for Aspinall because he really should have got a fight in the last 12
Yeah,
months
man. Like
against yeah.
he's defended his interim title. That should tell you everything. Yeah, man. It's just sometimes it's a tough sport, but yeah, it is what it is. I agree with you 100%. But we'll wrap this sort of main event up with this conversation. But right, you got a gun to your head, CT, and then you've been asked to say, okay, look, we'll make one of these fights happen. Right? One of these fights will happen, but you have the power to pick the fight. Right? So it's either John Jones versus Tom Aspinall for the unification of the heavyweight title, or it's John Jones versus Francis Ngannou in MMA. Which one would you pick?
Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, look, if you, again a timing thing. If you'd asked me 12 months ago, I would say Francis John
Yep.
Jones. But right now,
Yep.
it's clearly Jones Aspinall for me.
Yep.
Um, because hey, that could really a scalp like Jones could really add to Aspinall's legacy already, and he's already so young, so
Yeah.
he could enter the GOAT conversation at some point if he takes down Jones.
Yeah.
But then, the Ngannou one, the fact that he's been out of MMA for so long, there's kind of that
Yeah.
recency bias now. I know he had that big win recently in the PFL, um,
Mm.
but yeah, that was very one-sided, and so again, he's not in his prime anymore. But yeah, if you'd asked me to go in a time machine and you could make any fight in any era, like fighters in their prime, I would say Jones Francis, like in
Yep.
both in their primes. So what about you?
Man, I feel like we're going to be aligned throughout this card, but yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, I like the Aspinall fight, just because like yeah, like it's just sort of where Tom Aspinall's at the moment. He's in the middle of his prime. He's beat pretty much every heavyweight as well. Like look at Tom Aspinall's resume. Let's not forget that. Everyone who's been put in front of him has been finished, not just a win, but he's finished people, right? So yeah, it's a fight that I'll be excited to watch. Not to say that and then Garner, if we get both, yes, but if there's only one, then I would like to see the Aspinall fight. So thankfully, Aspinall's in the UFC, and so is John Jones. So it's more of a reality than I don't think the Francis Ngannou fight will ever happen in the UFC. Um, and I feel like John Jones will always be a UFC guy. So yeah, man, that's it. Like, yeah, pretty good main event. We're looking forward to it. But yeah, let's quickly look at what's remaining as well. Like we've got a banger of a core main event, part two of Chandler Oliveira. Man, what do you think of this fight?
Man, I'm super happy for Chandler first and foremost, but
Yeah,
Oliveira to help get his name back up there. And I really think, yeah, this is a strong co-main for me, and we'll talk about after that. It drops off, no doubt, but
yeah,
I think a really solid co-main. I think another guy, Mike Chandler, that's been hard done by in terms of unforeseen
yeah.
circumstances. And I mean, this guy really should have been so active over the last like 18 months. DJ,
Agree, man.
he
Agree.
technically could have fought 2 or 3 times since we last seen the man. And remember, he did create a bit of a bang when he did enter the UFC.
Uh,
He was garnering a lot of fans, and he was in some exciting fights. And so, great to see him back into the center of attention against a
mm-hmm.
guy who, I mean, talk about a guy who was on a crazy run.
Yeah,
Charlie Olives,
yeah.
you know,
Uh,
as as Hooker says, and I think,
yeah,
yeah, excitement. I feel like with these two guys, I feel like there's going to be a finish.
man,
DJ,
it's going to
what do you
be
feel?
100% finish. I'm actually completely divided on this fight. I don't know who to pick because that's how close it is. Because one thing, um, to continue on what you said, Michael Chandler has been one of the most exciting fighters since signing up to the UFC. He's just done nothing but exciting fights, win or lose. He's just an interesting fighter. He's fought. This is his third fight at MSG. So he fought Justin Gaethje first, and then Dustin Poirier. Now he's fighting Charles Oliveira. So he's just literally fighting some of the best. Um, and he was having a lot of success with those fight in every fight, man. Even the first Charles Oliveira fight, he won that first round. Like he had Charles Oliveira in trouble. I mean, there is an argument out there that which I can completely see why. There is an argument out there that that fight should have been stopped in that first round, and he should have got that title. Right, he came so close to it. And then the Dustin Poirier one as well. He was having a lot of success in that first round. First round was a 50-50 round, really, but he had a lot of strikes a lot of success in terms of landing clean shots. Then the second round, he controlled him on the ground. So it was like a matter of sort of, sticking to the game plan. That's where he's always faltered, which is, he's just so focused on the entertainment factor. He just sometimes forgets that you got to win. You got to get the wins as well. He's a high caliber fighter. He should be fighting for titles, and yeah, it's just unfortunately, and fortunately for us fans, obviously, we're thankful for the entertainment that's provided and sort of him, risking everything to do that for us. But at the same time, if he, I feel like if he were to stick to the game plan, he can sort of go back up there. He's not young either. That's the other thing you got to remember. So he's able to do that, and he's got the perfect fight to do that. It's very unfortunate, and he was hard done by with this whole McGregor thing. 2 years, just nothing came to fruition. He dedicated a lot of time, fight camps, and he's done another one. And then I don't know how much of that's going to be a factor. The only consolation is that was at 170, so he's probably not as um, it's not as doing not as hard as doing two training camps for the same weight cut. So he had to do a weight cut for this one, but for the previous one, he said it was an easy camp for the McGregor one. So hopefully that doesn't hamper him. You know, it's going to be exciting. But then since then, man, we've got to talk about the other guy who's involved in the current main event. Charles Oliveira went from sort of, I remember that first time he won that title. I remember sitting there thinking, man, like, he should have, that fight should have been stopped. Or, did he do it? But he did knock Chandler out. And I thought, oh, look, he caught him. Then he did it over and over again, man. He became like a household name, became one of my, all-time favorite fighters. He still is. So, yeah, like it's just the resurgence Charles Oliveira had. That run was unprecedented. Like from him winning that title to beating Poirier, beating Gaethje. Obviously, did have a bad fight against Islam. But we know how good Islam is. And he's been wanting that fight again because he said he was drained. He wasn't his best version for that fight. And then we've got he had this close fight against Arman. There's an argument that there are some scorecards that were favoring Oliveira, so it was a very close decision that went Arman's way. So yeah, man, two great fighters. They can fight anywhere. Oliveira is no longer just a jiu-jitsu guy, and they can both wrestle. They can both take it to the ground. And Oliveira is really good at striking too, man. His kickboxing is pretty good, and there's this killer instinct that he possesses now. So I'm excited for this fight. It's going to be a fight. It's definitely a finish. There is no way this goes the distance. Like I can't see a Michael Chandler fight going the distance. It'll be surprised. Look, having said that, it did go the distance for the Gaethje one. That was the only one, but outside of that, I feel like I can't see it going the distance. And yeah, who are you predicting? Who do you have for the win?
Yep.
CT.
Yeah. So I really feel like it's going to be a case of the wrestling from Oliveira. I think is his strength, and then obviously striking Mike Chandler. I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira. Right, I
Yep.
think he wears him down. Obviously, I mean he's great with the striking as well. Not going to sell him short. So I'm picking
Yep.
up Charles Oliveira for a stoppage, and I'll
Yep.
go submission in the third. How about you?
Yep. Look, like I said, I've been tossing back and forth with this one because I think if Michael Chandler sticks to the game plan, he's got the most chance to win this fight. Having said that, I just don't know if he does. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think as soon as he gets hit, or like as soon as he hears the crowd, he's just going to go, berserk like he always does. So, uh, if he sticks to the game plan, he potentially has the most chance to win this fight. Um, Having said that, I'm going to go with Charles Oliveira. Yeah, I'm also thinking like a third, somewhere around like in the middle of the fight, like a finish, because that's where Charles Oliveira does his best work. He sort of, from what we've seen, he starts fast, but then he also like sort of loses that first round at times. Um, and yeah, like it's an interesting scenario. So we have to wait and see because he lost the first round against Chandler. He lost the first round against Gaethje and Poirier as well. Obviously, he did finish Benil Dariush, who's somewhat disappeared from the scene now, but like yeah, like Benil Dariush at the time ranked very high, touted to beat Islam at one point. So yeah, he did finish him quite quickly. Um, so yeah, like look, man, I'm going with Charles Oliveira. I think it's going to be a submission.
Yeah, we're unanimous again, and
Yeah,
so excitement abound. What else is interesting you for the rest of the
man.
card?
Obviously, the Bo Nickel. You gotta like I'm on the hype train. I'm not gonna hide the fact that I like Bo Nickel. I think he's undefeated, but he's also good, man. He's good. He's got good hands, and he's also got extremely good wrestling, which is no doubt. Like that's what brought him to the scene. He's fighting another really good fighter on the ground, Paul Craig. Paul Craig's striking is quite questionable, but on the ground, man, like he's beaten Magomed Ankalaev, one of the very few guys to do that, right? Who's potentially going to be fighting for light heavyweight title. So Bo Nickel is extremely good, but his striking is also good. So it comes down to, can Paul Craig withstand those strikes? Can he get the fight to where he wants it to be? And then can he get the finish from there against an equally extremely talented wrestler? So yeah, man, like I'm looking forward to that fight. I'm picking Bo Nickel to get the job done. I think he stands with him actually, and I think he gets him there, and he might submit him afterwards. So not sure, but I'm gonna go with Bo Nickel. I think he remains undefeated. Um, I also like the main card opener, to be honest. The Mauricio Rufy. Uh, he is part of that group that's come up now. It's called the Fighting Nerds. We had Carlos Pratas fight, Caio Barrayo, Silva, and now Rufy is in that team too. And these guys have been, killing it in the MMA scene, man, in the UFC. So like this guy is as exciting as they come. So I'm excited to see what he's got in store for a main card open in MSG. We know that the UFC don't set up main card openers lightly for MSG. It's always been like a Michael Chandler opening the main card. So I'm excited to see that. And then I think we got some decent fights in the prelims as well. It's not as stacked. I'll be honest, right? Like that's just my opinion. Like I'm not saying that's what it is, but I'm just saying I know they did suffer a few cancellations too. But we got Jonathan Martinez, who's the feature prelim against Marcus McGee. Chris Weidman's here, the local boy fighting Eric Enders. That's a good fight. Jim Miller, the veteran, is taking on Damon Jackson. Um, who else? What do we have in the early prelims? Sorry, Tabura's in it. But let's not forget Aspinall weighed in as a backup as well. Like or weighing in. Sorry, I should say. Mickey Gall's fighting. Okay, that's good. Veronica Hardy. This name might trigger some memories. Basil Affas. He was the one who took that short notice fight against our very own Jack Della Maddalena in the Apex, remember? And gave him a really hard fight. So let's see how that guy goes. Yeah, I'm actually keen to see that fight.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's a
Yeah,
good time to mention this is the first card in a while that we are going to be together watching it
absolutely.
as a
We're
little
watching it together.
watch party. Yeah, bring it on.
Absolutely, and there's going to be some live reactions, man. Like I think it starts standard time because New York, that's like 2 p.m. main card. Yeah, so yeah, we'll be like 12 p.m. prelims. Yeah, we're going to be here together, a couple of bevies, some good food, and hopefully a good card.
Some viral knockouts, some legacy
Final
moments,
knockouts.
hopefully.
That's it. That's
Um,
it. As long as I'm not too heartbroken after the
oh,
Saturday event of Jake Paul and Mike Tyson, I don't want to see Mike Tyson hurt. That's all. Just
yeah, great point. Stay tuned, everyone. Look out for our reactions to both those big combat sports events on That's a Tap. Right, subscribe to the channel for those reactions and future episodes. CT and DJ, we enjoyed previewing this huge MSG card, one of my favorites of the year. And yeah, to your point about it not being or not feeling like it's as stacked, I agree. But I feel like when you look at the two
yeah,
fights at the top, the co-main and
yeah,
the main, they
yeah,
sell the event,
100%,
hands
100%,
down. And I can't
100%.
wait, DJ. I can't wait.